So there are some thoughts that I have. Every so often, Brahma Baba gets fed up with the BKs. And I remember one time Daddy Gulzar was talking to us about how Baba used to get fed up with the BKs and fed up with this huge task that Shiv Baba is getting done through him, because for Shiv Baba, everything is already fixed in drama. He knows that it works out every time. And he is Karan Karavan Har, so he is the one who gets everything done through us. So here we are, trying to figure out, what does that mean? And some people think, well, I don't have to do anything. I just have to be connected with Baba and he will get everything done. And that is possible occasionally in a few instances, but mostly it's not like that. Mostly he's giving instructions and delegating the work to us. So Karan Karavan Har does mean delegating. Getting something done through others, that's called delegating. So he is telling us, okay, I want you to be soul conscious. I want you to understand who's talking to you. So I want you to use your third eye, which I've given to you. Use it, keep it open, so that you can see the soul, so that you can see who is talking to you, and so that you can see the difference between God and Maya. So one of the definitions of someone who's a Raj Yogi is that they can recognize God and they can recognize Maya. So if you can't recognize Maya and you don't recognize God, then this is the sort of thing which will make Baba get fed up. But then if you see, okay, who becomes a BK? Most of the people who become BKs are fairly simple religious people who maybe cannot go into the depth of the philosophy. And so as long as they are, feeling good about everything, off we go. But then there are many influences. One is the influence of other people, which is enormous. And I think in the Western world, it's less than in India. And I did a survey one time to find out what the BKs over there think in regard to the important points that Baba gives. For example, he says, God is not omnipresent. And so I did the survey. How many of you think that God is omnipresent? Everybody said, yes, we think he's omnipresent. And I thought, well, this is unusual because you're hearing in the murlis every day that God is not omnipresent. But when you're answering the survey, then you say he is omnipresent. So I said, well, why do you think he's omnipresent? And they said, well, because the people around us think like that. And so this is the enormous influence of just people around, family members, people in the community, friends, whatever is their view of things, that's what everybody goes for. And So you can understand that all these sanskaras that are existing in the normal regular world, they will be brought into Gyan. And you have to be really quite alert to notice exactly what you're bringing into Gyan from your culture, from your surroundings, from your world that you live in, the attitudes, the beliefs, and all of that. They are something you breathe in along with the air. And so you don't really notice that you're breathing until you can't breathe. And so in the same way, you know, there are so many things that influence. Then we have the influence of karmic accounts, very big influence. And these influences are not discernible. Baba tells them about them. We know about them, we hear about them, we tell other people about them, but discerning it when it's acting on you is another story altogether. So the story that Dadi Gulzar told me was when the Brahmins were quite recently arrived in Pandap Bhavan. So this would be in the 1950s. And Baba used to travel to Bombay and to Delhi and some other places, especially Bombay he would go to. At that time it was called Bombay, now it's Mumbai. And, you know, he heard from Shiv Baba that, you know, this is happening right here, right now, and you have very little time. And so, like all BKs, there is this feeling of urgency. We have to do this quickly, and we have to do it forcefully, strongly. We have to become perfect like yesterday. And all of this pressure is there. And there are a lot of BKs who are feeling the pressure, especially the pressure of service. I keep hearing about this. And so I thought, well, now what's going on here? What is it that is needed so that we can actually move forward, high speed, no pressure? That would be nice, right? And so my feeling about it is that since one of the mantras he gives us is forget your body, forget your bodily relations, and forget your bodily religion, we have to think about this mantra because it's really very helpful. So what does it mean to forget your body? It means do not be limited by your gender, your race, your health condition, your age, and the limitations are sometimes if your health is very good, you become limited by that as you become limited by when it's not very good. Because when your health is very good, then you become body conscious more in a certain way. You don't have to, but it happens. What does it mean, forget your relatives? It means that they have a very big influence on you. Your culture comes from your relatives, your conditioning, how you were raised, all of this, and your thinking, and what activity is okay, what is not okay. And then forget your bodily religion is a wider influence of culture, religion, beliefs, whether you're, you know, what they say, the word is playing the game. Do you play the game? You know, because if you play the game of the world, then you will become worldly. naturally, because the game is designed to keep you in this circle of, you get born, you go to school, you make some friends, you follow all the practices of the community, you acquire all of the prejudices and preconceptions. You grow up, or you get married to somebody who is defined for you as suitable. You get a job that somebody tells you is suitable. You make a certain amount of money. You create your house. You get children. You get older, and you die. And that's it. And so, that's what most people do. And whether or not it is meaningful is not always a question for most people. But, who comes in Gyan is someone who has been looking for God or looking for truth. Is that right? And there are a lot of people who come in Gyan because they kind of follow along with a large group of people who come in Gyan who are part of their people. And so there are people who come in Gyan like that in India, but in the West, it doesn't really happen like that so much, because people are more of the type that, okay, if I'm looking for truth, my relatives may not be. And if they're not looking for truth, that's okay. But if I'm looking for truth, then that's me. So you're more individualistic in that sense. And how do you find truth? Needle in the haystack. Then I ask people this question always: did you find Baba, or did Baba find you? Most people say Baba found me. And so if Baba found me, that means not very easy to find Baba. So you may have been looking for many, many births. Then the next thing is, how many deities are there? If you go through the entire amount of deities, all the people in the kingdom, which is a hierarchical kingdom, all the way from the emperor of the golden age, all the way down to a simple person who he calls as a servant or a maid. And in this murli, he says, now you must try for a high status. And he says, look, you spend so much time and energy because you're after money. So many people, they just want to make as much money as possible. They will sacrifice, they will work all day, half the night, they will work hard, they will press gang their family members into the business without paying them. And this is a family business system, and everybody wants money. And Baba says, but you won't get that much. And if you do this, you get so much money. So if you're really into money, do this, because you get a whole lot more than that couple of dollars that you can make that way. And it's true, but people don't get it. And then he says, but think about, people want status. They want high status. They want to be influential. They want to be important. They want nice clothes. They want all the status symbols, their own private jet. Baba says, you're unlikely to make it like that. But if you do this, you have a fleet of private jets, clean nuclear energy. You'll be so beautiful. You'll have, diamonds dripping from your walls. You want this stuff? I will give you much more. But people don't get it. Why? Because the consciousness is material. And so who can become soul conscious? One thing is coming into Gyan in the sense of, okay, you hear the knowledge, you come sit down in the murli, you enjoy the toli, you like bhog, you like the music and the festivals and all of that. But then that's not very different from conventional religion, because you don't have to do anything in religion except sit there, follow the rituals, put some donation, eat together, dance. And so for many people, they just don't see the difference. And so therefore, they will do as people do in the world. They will pay lip service to spiritual principles, but they won't actually live it. And Baba's big problem in this murli is, why can't you be celibate? You promised to be celibate, now you're not. Why? Why you like this ordinary low-grade flesh? What's so great about it? And he says, no, you need to be pure. That means you need to practice purity. Why do we need to practice purity? All the different aspects of purity are going to make a person more spiritually sensitive. So celibacy, vegetarian, taking baths, at all the times when Brahmins have to take baths, being clean, keeping your attention on the spiritual, not getting drawn by attractions and repulsions. Pull yourself into soul consciousness so that you can not be pulled by the sense perceptions, because everybody knows since centuries, sense perception is deceptive. Just because everybody knows doesn't mean that they are independent of it. But when Baba talks about you can be soul conscious, and then what happens when you're soul conscious, you come onto Baba's level. Because body conscious means you're connected with the material world and you're influenced by it because your gates are open. Your gates are your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your gates, and a couple of other gates that are private gates, but they're gates. And so he says, if you keep all the gates open, then Maya will come in. Maya is not a little woman who comes along and bothers you. Always they say in the translation, Maya is she, but neither Maya is she nor Ravan is he. But these are personifications that are there in the path of bhakti. No, so we have to not really look at these personifications as the personification, but what they are a personification of. So that means we need to be more subtle. And a way to become more subtle is purity. All the different kinds of practices of purity make you more sensitive to the spiritual and also more sensitive to the physical, so that you can recognize God and you can recognize Maya. If you can't recognize Maya or God, then you're just, go with the flow. And of course, everybody thinks go with the flow is a good idea, but it's actually not a good idea because the flow is flowing down the drain. So you don't want to go there. And so soul consciousness, what is soul consciousness? Soul consciousness is when you're pulling back from material reality. It's a decision. And the default state is body conscious. So you can pull yourself into soul consciousness. How long can you hold it? Until you get another thought, which is pretty soon. Until you get distracted, very soon. And so we have to practice being soul conscious while in action. And do simple actions in soul consciousness. This is a very, very good practice because it creates the sanskar and you can hold it longer. You can't be connected with Baba in body consciousness. It's not possible. Shiv Baba does not exist on the level of material reality. Is not here. And we are in material reality by default. And so we have to make a conscious choice, which is called noticing. So just notice, am I soul conscious? And this means you're pulling back, not from something neutral, you're pulling back from something that has extremely strong magnetic power. So the practices of purity make us aware of this magnetic power. Now, some people, they have a lot of objection. They say, oh, I'm too aware of all these things, you know. Well, you need to be aware of them because otherwise you don't know that they're not for you. And you have to be very aware of them and very aware of Baba, which means you need power of tolerance. Because you have to tolerate being very aware of things that are not good for you, even while they're there, and turn your attention to Baba in the face of this magnetic attraction. This is not a religious practice. This is a spiritual practice. It's very different. What do religious practices involve? Physical things. And it doesn't really involve spiritual things because it's all done in the material world and all done in the name of God. But it's when you make the difference between your possibility of being in the spiritual level or in the material level, then you can know the difference. But religious people don't have the third eye. Where would they get it from? When you meet Baba, he gives you the third eye. Then he says, okay, now learn to use it and practice perception, because the third eye is the ability to perceive what is not physical. That means God and souls and other subtle energies that are physical but not very physical, subtle. And there are pure and impure subtle energies, there are pure and impure physical energies, and then there is the energy of God. And what we're doing here is we're returning to our original condition. So our original condition is characterized by purity. And purity in the sense of new. We have this wonderful word, Satopradhan, which doesn't exist really in English. So we just have to go with this word and think about it. Your thinking has to be Satopradhan, your vibrations have to be Satopradhan. So it means it's integrated, it's harmonious, it's beautiful, it's very subtle, it's got its own light, and it's not dense and rotten and dark as in the Tamopradhan. So the kind of change that Baba is talking to us about is reversing the effect of time all the way back to the beginning of time. Very difficult for a person to perceive using normal perception. You can't. You know, even the scientists who make these long, deep cores, ice cores or something to find out what was going on so many millions of years ago, that thing that they find at the bottom of the ice is still in present time. So the quality of the matter of that core is still current time quality. They cannot actually dig down deep and find out what it was like in the golden age, because matter is present here at this time. Of course, you see the different layers in the sediment, and the archaeologists will find stuff, but they're not going to find it in its original condition. They'll find it in its current condition. You see, and they haven't thought about that. They don't think that the quality of matter changes over time. They don't know this, but we know it because Baba has told us. And the quality of the soul changes over time. And it's a very, very slow decline. And we have one lifetime in which to come back to our original condition. And of course, it's totally impossible, right? Completely. But he says, no, it's possible. All you need to do is get onto this level of soul consciousness, because that's the same dimension where Baba is. And when you're in the soul conscious level, then you can pick up, you can feel Baba, you can perceive Baba, and then you can take that light in. And it's quick. It's very quick. But the thing is, it's very subtle, so you lose connection very easily. So we have to practice concentration. And the more pure we are, the more easy it is to be concentrated. And when we're very concentrated, on the base of purity, your conscience is activated. That means by the power of your conscience, you can see if you're wasting time, because you feel it. You see, you feel Maya, you feel God, you feel all these other things as well. So maybe it's too much to feel all these things, but if you can't feel them, you can't make an informed choice about how to handle whatever is happening around you all the time, and what to do when you have time, to use the time, and how to handle obstacles and people who are trying to stop you from doing this and distract you and all these other things. So the more sensitive we are, we have to combine that with being assertive. Because if you're not assertive, then you cannot set boundaries. And this word Maryada is all about boundaries. You set your boundaries. This is me. I'm a Raj Yogi. This is my priority. I will do activities that correspond to duty and something that will be of service and something that will carry me forward in my spiritual practice. Other than that, not interested. A lot of BKs don't understand the necessity to be assertive. Because when you're assertive, people will object. And so you need to have courage to say, this is who I am, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do, and that's me. And they'll have to respect that. but you have to make them respect it. Because if you don't make them respect it, they won't take you seriously. And they'll think you're all talk and no action. And many people are, but then you won't experience progress. So this matter of being assertive is very important. So anyway, those few thoughts. Yes. Punish yourself. Yes, I saw that. You know, in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, this was absolutely common and current to do for among religious people. But in the 2022s, it's not. So we have to say, okay, well, you know, what Baba used to do is if he would get distracted, he would pinch himself. And that was called punishment. It's not actually punishment. Just pinch yourself, okay? But you don't need to do it physically because you get it. And so when you get it, you don't need to do anything about it. You already got it. You see? And so I think that punish yourself is no longer required, but you have to pay attention. And if you get that you're distracted, then make yourself focus. And sometimes people may need to do some physical thing to make themselves pay attention, but I think you can do it in your mind. But then you have to be real. Don't just deceive yourself, because that's the problem. And when you do something physical, maybe you pay more attention. But I think the level of practice that we're doing now, if you notice yourself doing something wrong, you don't need to punish yourself. You just remind yourself, hey, don't go there. Come here. Don't get distracted this way, that way. Stay here. So I would do it that way. And definitely don't punish other people. There's a big tendency to try and put it on other people. But no, your spiritual practice is for you. And trying to make other people do your spiritual practice, that's religious. Okay, there's a question. Well, I can see that God is not literally in the rocks, etc. There does seem to be an element of omnipresence, since Baba can be with a multitude of people across the globe in an instant they remember him. That's not omnipresence, that's his high speed. He operates at the speed of thought, and he is reciprocal. So if you remember him, he'll give you a return, but he's not a human. And his ability to respond to large numbers of people very, very fast has nothing to do with omnipresence. It's to do with his speed, you know, and his location. Think about his location. His location is in the soul world, from where he can do whatever he wants, but he doesn't need to be physically anywhere, because anyway, he's not physical. And his capacity to reach is a speed of thought, instant. So try thinking about him this way, and I think that will probably help you to get onto a more subtle level yourself, and to realize that you also don't have to be everywhere in order to, you know, think about lots of different people who might be thinking about you. Of course, you're not God, you're not so subtle as to be able to pick it up. But Baba had said that when your level of yoga is at the level that he wants us to have, you will be able to pick these things up. And so keep working on it. Yeah. Okay, so have a wonderful day and really practice soul consciousness because this is a really good foundation, first step, base. And from soul consciousness, everything else comes. Om Shanti. Oh, I never told you the Daddy Gulzar story, did I? Right? Okay, let me tell you that because everybody will say, where's the story? Where's the story? Okay, so this was in Panda Bhavan. Must have been in the late 50s or something like that. And so they were all there with him. And in Panda Bhavan was the time when all the brothers and sisters could actually be with Brahma Baba, Panda Bhavan, and some of the other houses in Mount Abu. But when they were in Karachi, they were separate. And so one day, Baba got fed up with them. I can't remember what the reason was. I don't think she even gave the reason, but he said, all of you go, just go. So they were kids, you know, like young teenagers or something. And so they said, they obeying Baba. You had to do what Baba said. He was a big authority. So they all dutifully went outside the gate and stayed there because where to go? And then he took pity on them and said, okay, come back. But just so that you understand that, you know, Brahma Baba was a human being like us, and he had this gigantic task, and Shiv Baba imposed himself on him. And of course, it's a huge power, and Brahma Baba could handle it. But you know, handling Shiv Baba and then handling all the stuff, that's big, very big. And so definitely he would get fed up sometimes and say, oh, I can't do this, it's too much. I don't want to do this. And there were some Muris, you don't see them these days, where Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba would be arguing, as all good couples do. And so, yeah, because they're married, right? Shiv Baba said, this is my wife. No ifs, ands, or buts, and don't argue and do what I say and this type of thing. And then Brahma Baba, what are you talking about? You get it done. How can I do this? Very difficult. So, but he did. He handled it. He got through it. And so, you know, all of us have to also handle it, get through it, and get to the destination. This is normal. You know, sometimes people think, oh, Brahma Baba was an angel in the beginning, and he didn't have to make any purusharat, and he's already avyat. And people describe him like that and stick little angel wings on in Photoshop and things like that, you know, but that's completely unrealistic and untrue. And so sometimes you get influenced by untrue representations, and then you compare yourself to that and you find it's totally out of the question to do this. But no, one has to be realistic, and what Brahma Baba had to handle was big time, and he managed it. You know, he did manage it. Okay, Om Shanti.